Assalamu alaikum and welcome to our discussion. One, two, three. Assalamu alaikum and good day. This is your teacher, Ma'am Siti Aina Pandapatan. Our discussion for today is about the process essay. A process essay explains how to do something or how something occurs. An obvious example of process essay is a recipe. In this, that essay tackles about the process. Paano ba ginagawa yung isang recipe, for instance? Okay? It is not just about the recipe, but other procedures or anything that involve procedures or process. So it could be transferred or it could be written using the process or through the process essay. Okay, the characteristics of process writing or process essay is that it includes strict chronological order. Number two, if the steps described are repeated, then the same outcome should always be achieved. And this should be in a fixed order because again, it is a process essay or a process writing. It involves a process. And then clarity extremely important in the process essay. It should be clear from the step one to the last step. It should be clear again. So there should be an involvement of transition if it is essential. Those transitions include the first, second, third, or it depends on how you use transitions. Okay. There are two types of process essay. We have the directional or the process explanation. Okay, let's start with the directional. The directional process essay is basically it gives instructions. It enables readers to perform a process and it describes how to do something. For instance, in a recipe, a handout, or an operating manual. Diba? So, merong mga instruction in those kinds of writings. For instance, in the recipe, meron talaga siyang instruction, a handout, right? And an operating manual. Another one is the one of the characteristics of directional. It is imperative. It is in imperative mood. When we say imperative mood, it directs. Okay, it gives commands. So that is one of the basic characteristic of directional process writing. Another one is the subject of sentences uses you for you to understand the process and it speaks directly to the reader. Okay, so the next kinds of process essay is the process explanation. Its purpose is to help reader understand how a process is carried out. For instance, it explains how something happened. You may use either first person or third person and do not use second person or in imperative mood. Magkaiba sila sa directional process writing. Okay? And in the process explanation, it may be in a present or past tense. And depending on whether the writer is explaining a process that takes place regularly. Okay, when it takes place regularly, then it means you may use the present tense. Or one that occurred in the past, so you will use the past tense. And on whether the writer or someone else carried out the process. Okay? So, this is the first person and third person for you to understand the process explanation. So, in the present tense, pag sinabi natin in the first person, one of the examples there is when you say, after I place the chemicals in the tray, I turn out the lights in the dark room. Okay? So, that is an example of process essay in the first person in the present tense. While in the third person in the present tense, its example is when you say, after photographers place the chemicals in a tray, they turn out the lights in the dark room. Okay, you are referring to the photographers in the third person. But in the first person, you are referring to the photographer as you. Okay, so that's it. In the past tense naman, you'll just change the tense in that in those examples. Okay, so in using a process writing, you may use this in the for science, for literature, for history, or any other subject. And you may use process writing to persuade, okay? Because you are you are writing in an imperative mood, specifically in the directional process writing, or you in the process writing you are informing. Okay, so a process essay should have a clear thesis statement that identifies the process and tells why it is performed. Now, um, in planning the process essay, keep readers' needs in mind. Okay, so explain reasons for performing steps, describe unfamiliar materials or equipment, define terms of define terms, and then avoid ambiguity. Warn readers of possible problems they may encounter and avoid unnecessary shifts in tense, in person, or voice and mood. Okay, it should be there should be a coherence in writing the process essay. Once you start with a present tense, then the whole throughout the essay use a present tense. And once you use the first person at the very beginning, then at the end, use the first person. Okay, so that is the characteristic of a process essay. Another one is use transitions. Those transitions specifically are useful, such as the first, second, meanwhile, after this, next, then, at the same time, when you have finished, and then finally. And use transitions to establish sequential and chronological relationships between steps in process. Okay, so that is, transitions are very useful in the process essay. Okay, here is the structure of process essay. Same with the essay writing. It has an introduction, it has a body, and then it has a conclusion. Okay, in introduction, introduce your topic in an interesting way. Present your thesis statement, and then identifies the process and indicates why and under what circumstances it is performed. Okay, so in the body, one major stage of the process in each body paragraph should be discussed. Okay, so each stage may involve several steps. Your body should be like this. For instance, your body meron tayong topic sentence or the main idea, and then supporting details. Those are the examples, the fact, the statistic, or short story, or any narrative about the topic, and then the closing remark or the function of this step. Again, na-discuss na before yung in the other learning material on how to write a body, right? So this is just the specific characteristic of the body of essay of process writing. Huh? Okay. The next one is the formal conclusion. In the formal conclusion, it shows the result of the process. Okay? It briefly summarizes your major stages. It reinforces and restates the thesis statement. It includes interesting, humorous, or inspiring closing remarks. And then, so in order for you to revise your process essay, you may ask yourself with these following questions. Okay, number one, does your assignment call for a set of instructions or a process explanation? Does your writing style clearly and consistently indicate whether you are writing a set of instructions or process explanation? Okay, again, you need to think that you are writing a process essay. Okay, so another question for you as your guide in revising your process essay is that does your essay have a clearly stated thesis that identifies the process and perhaps tells why this or was performed? Okay, another one is, have you included all necessary minors and quotients? Another one is, have you included all necessary steps? Again, it's a process essay. Once na may mamiss lang kayong isang step, then it may not be the process anymore. Okay, so another one is, are the steps presented in strict chronological order? Again, one of the characteristics of a process essay is that it is in chronological order. Okay? Another one is, do transitions clearly indicate where one step ends and the next begins? Okay, so it means that hindi ka pwedeng mag-start ng transition na finally. Yeah? Because finally is used at the very end. Okay, so yun yung minimin ng question to. Review those transitions kung nagamit ba siya ng maayos. Okay, so that is the process essay. I hope you understand how to write the process essay. And I think that would be all. Thank you for listening.